Channel 347, the food coming out of a hill. I'm up in my... I've just cleaned up a little bit, right? We've got a fire coming here. But I'm responding to the Sunday Express, is it? Or Express on Sunday, or whatever it's called, you know. Who cares? Who gives a shite? The dope-smoking hippies on the hill. We're here. You know, he got that right. At least he got that right. I give him that. But as for the rest of the article... What's going to happen to him is that he's going to learn very, very quickly that there's more going on than smoking dope on the hill here. There's a lot more. And, you know, for what it's worth, we're going to tell the story of the weed. We're going to tell the story of it. So it's like, when he sees that we can actually do this quite well and explain what the history of the weed is and how it's been in prohibition for... How long has it been prohibition for? It's only the weed. Alcohol, they tried that, it went balmy, didn't it? You know, gangsters and all that. What would happen? The weed, right, which, you know, they've gone to Afghanistan, please, you know, they've gone to Afghanistan. America now owns the biggest heroin growing fields in the world. America, they went there for a reason, please. You know, this journalist from the Sunday Express is not going to live. He ain't coming back here. He got it completely wrong. And he's going to learn anyway. That it's just, you know, he's going to learn, right, very quickly that there's people here who are talking a lot of sense, and actually people are hearing him. And that guy, I don't know, what, you know, even from his colleagues, I guess, you walked in there, you walked into a fire, man. You literally walked into a fire. Listen. This is what I do in the evenings. That's called a fire. It keeps me warm. There's only two things you need in life. One is warmth and the other is a touch of food, you know. And let me show you something here. To the dope-smoking hippie on the hill, let me show you another thing. Just the outside of my, you know, hovel at the moment, I've got a cave coming, that's up the hill. Look at that. You know what that is, don't you? Yeah, it's nettles. Now, on top of smoking the weed, I eat nettles quite a lot, you know, 2 or 3 times a week. I've never felt healthier. And on top of that, I urinate into the front of them so that they've got my own immune system going round in cycles. Now, this is the 2nd year I've done it. I've never felt so fit in my life. And I've been smoking, by the way, weed for most of my life. And I might look a bit nuts. And I could be, to some. Especially that journalist, if he ever comes back, I can tell him that for nothing. You know, he's going to answer for me. I don't care about no one else. Blimey. You know, the story of weed is slightly more interesting than he comes up with, you know, the dope smokers on the hill. This story is going to change things. You know, listen to Russell Brand for once in your life. He's onto the right thing. You know, we need a revolution. The revolution's coming. I invited him up, put my video up again. You know, someone who knows him, get in touch with him and we can have a conversation about, you know, dope-smoking weed journalists from the daily Sundays, you know, who cares, you know, what the articles they come up with to describe us on the hill. And, you know, I know this isn't, you know, like in court, I can understand, you know, in your system, you wouldn't get me. You know, I wouldn't get 5 seconds. I'd have, you know, I'd be downstairs, wouldn't I? Locked up. For what? Pressing a button. The Surrey paper, and I think Russia... No, look at the Russia Today one, please. That's the one that's going to give you most information about this. It's not a bad piece of, you know, video. Except, you know, they also got away with this use of the word hippie as well. You know, to describe the people living on the hill. Well, there's a better one locally. They call us the Swampers. Okay, so, you know, you gotta get creative, you know, you gotta imagine what types of people we might be. I prefer swampers than either hippie or, you know, dope-smoking hippie, if you want to go so far. And I also prefer talking about entheogens and mushrooms from the wood and the study of them and what they do to the mind and what they can do. You know, I'm continuing the study of, in the States, the man who's in prison, what's his name? Just at the wrong moment, I know. Never mind. He was doing a study on acid, and got in prison for a joint, one joint. You know, they caught him with one joint, but he claims it was landed on him. They didn't put him in prison for the joint. They put him in prison because he was quite well known. Timothy Leary, and said he was about to study acid and the mind and how it affected humans and the possible beneficial uses of it. Just like we've discovered there's many beneficial uses of the weed when it's turned to hash. Apparently it cures cancer. Now this guy's kind of got an interesting theory that most of people in Britain have as well, which is that it's a weed that's very dangerous. It's not. It cures cancers in some people. And if you deny someone's life because there's a law that says we can't use it, think about it. You know, the article today annoyed me because it's like, well, I thought it might be typical actually, but it's not. It's very untypical so far. The BBC haven't done very well. They've got to do this hippie thing as well. You know, who's the people on the hill? I'm an elder actually, 60 years old this year, and I've had a family. So you know, start getting wise, journalists. You know, journalism went out the window back in the 60s when they finished all the President's Men. That was the last time journalism was any good. But you're going to have to learn trade again, I'm afraid. Start investigating properly. Journalists, pros of the trade of keeping Babylon alive. Bye.